This is kind of a feminist horror film. I've never talked about this before. It's kind of the Thelma and Louise of horror movies, in a way. I mean, the two strongest characters are women. This is kind of a feminist horror film.
In 1992, Stephen King decided to cut the bullshit and write his first straight-to-film screenplay, rather than adapting from his previous work, something they wanted everyone and their mother to know about.
Stephen King's Sleepwalkers is an erotic horror fantasy not based on one of his novels or short stories. It's the first nightmare King has saved just for the movie screen.
Fans of Stephen King's frightening novels will have to see this one at the cinema. It's his first work written solely for the screen.
And wrote Sleepwalkers, a story about a mother and son team of strange supernatural creatures who move to a small town to seek out a young virgin to feed on. Great start. Columbia Pictures initially suggested Rupert Wainwright to direct, popular for his work directing music videos in the late 80s and early 90s, making videos for both MC Hammer and NWA primarily. But King wanted none of that because he's racist. Instead, King pushed for Mick Garris, who had previously directed, let me get my notes out here, Critters 2, The Main Course, and Psycho 4, The Beginning. Okay, but it seemed to be a good pick. King and Garris would collaborate a number of times after this project, including the Stand miniseries in 1994, Quicksilver Highway in 1997, the Shining mini-series in 1997. Anyways, so how did critics take to the film? The very first straight-to-film screenplay written by the legend himself, Stephen King. Well, not very well. But there seems to be a divide between some audience members and critics, which are as unhinged as you would expect. Cheryl Wright says, "Sorry if I'm going to offend the generic cookie-cutter sheep audience that makes up fans of Rotten Tomatoes. There's no advanced CGI motion capture effects. There's no number after the movie's title. There's practically no diversity hired actors. Just good old-fashioned 90s horror comedy, Stephen King style." Holy shit, this person's annoying. David mentions that the cats steal the show. That's it. While Omar chimes in with a very simple, "I pissed myself watching this movie when I was 8. Now, I feel a little bad for my man Torder Jakes, who despite saying the movie is great, gave it a 1-star review anyways. "Do kill lot cat and movie is great. I put is a 1-star for movie for kill all poor cat and you who make a movie sham on you. For kill all cat and I really feel sorry for cat and who make a critic worst job ever and if no one can understand me, I can understand that and thanks for listening to me." You know, I do understand Mr. Jakes. I really do. Nowadays, the majority of people view this film as a classic in the so bad it's good genre of shit movies. It has already been covered by the likes of Chris Stuckman and the fucking Nostalgia Critic, whose review I tried to scrub through to make sure I wasn't unintentionally ripping bits from, but
It's Stephen King time! This is the first shot! Majorly ewy! Where the hell did all this come from? Of course now you come in at a perfect time! Of course it does! That's how this goddamn movie works! Will nobody bank on how ridiculous this is? Oh my god, this is all too crazy! Cut to something that makes more sense!
I found that to be quite the grating experience. So, let's take a look at the first collaboration between King and Garris, Sleepwalkers. Shall we? The film jumps right out of the gates, giving us an excerpt about sleepwalkers, citing them as nomadic, shape-shifting creatures with human and feline origins, vulnerable to the deadly scratch of the cat. The sleepwalker feeds upon the life force of virginal human females, probable source of the vampire legend. Just laying it all out there already, huh? Shape-shifting cat vampires that would have loved being in the pop-punk scene in the 2010s. Oh, by the way, Chillicothe Encyclopedia of Arcane Knowledge, 1st edition, 1884, is not a real publication. King just made it up. I think he may have gotten the idea of skinwalkers and cats mixed up and lost inside of a pile of cocaine. Chillicothe is a small city in Ohio, I've found out. I don't think there's any connection. Fuck, okay, anyways, let's not veer too off course here. After about 30 seconds of reading, some claws rip through the screen with fire burning the film print. Epic. We open up in Bodega Bay, California, with an officer telling an uncredited Mark Hamill about Charles and Mary Brady, who have been missing since Tuesday.
God, I just hope nothing horrible happened to them. They were so close.
Remember this line, my dear viewer. Remember this line.
They were so close.
It is soon revealed that there was an absolute massacre of cats, all strung up and hung in a row, like execution style. Would hanging even work on a cat, or is it all for show? Like, do cats have an understanding of what hanging even is conceptually? I mean, why not make a real spectacle out of it and go for some good old-fashioned impalings, Vlad style? The cops enter the house, with more dead cats littering the floors and a healthy amount of Dutch angles to really get you on your toes. They slowly approach a door that seems to have an animal whimpering inside, until we're treated to the most fucking predictable jump scare of all time. Cat jump scares were already a well-established trope by this time, right? Like, come on, this is so fucking lazy. Then again, this entire fucking movie is about cats, so might as well just throw it in there. Do I really even have to say it? The boys inspect the body, revealing what appears to be a young girl in a school uniform and braces? Oh, right, they feed on virgins, hence the school uniform and braces. After telling us that it's a little girl, we get the title card and opening credits. Over the course of the credits, the cats start becoming more anthropomorphic, just a straight up cheetah with a human head at one point. We learn about their powers, how they literally suck people dry, and the family lineage of these cat vampire hybrids. We eventually end up in Travis, Indiana, which also doesn't exist. It's Travisville, with the song Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny, which is admittedly a fucking banger. A shirtless Charles Brady, whose name is so dangerously close to Charles Grady from The Shining, gawks over a girl from his high school, with the stereotypical heart and arrow drawn around her fucking head. Then he just starts slicing his arm open with a scalpel. Just to show how much of a little freak this guy is, he carved a T into his arm because the girl he likes' name starts with a T. Tanya. We are then introduced to Mary Brady, who stares down a cat in horror as it approaches what appears to be a trap.
Hi.
Shh. Even the characters are getting jump scared. Charles assures his wife that they'll get the cat eventually and invites her to dance with him. It actually is kind of heartwarming. Him comforting his partner over their fear, genuinely bonding with each other. It's pretty cute. She runs her fingers through his hair as they talk about what's for dinner, playfully flirting about his plans for the evening.
To the movies, maybe.
With a friend? With a special friend?
All by my lonesome.
Oh. Don't ask your mother.
What? What did you say? Charles goes on to say that there's a girl that works down at the movie theater, teasing his wife with some curated jealousy.
Jealous?
Concerned.
They continue on dancing as if they've been through this whole song and dance, literally, many times before. Just into some kinky shit, I guess. I think she might be a cuck queen or something.
Should I be jealous? Do you like that?
Oh, she is for sure getting off on this.
Mother.
What? What did he say? So yeah, as it turns out, they aren't a married couple, they're mother and son. Incestuous, shape-shifting, vampiric cat people who are so desperately horny I literally feel like I'm watching the intro to a stepmom wincest porn video, but it's his actual mother. You know what? Give me a second. Presumably later that night, we meet Tanya at the movie theater closing up, who you probably recognize as Shelley Johnson from Twin Peaks, until she breaks out into an awkward dance solo that lasts almost a minute. It is quite a painful experience. Then, being the fucking creep that he is, Charles jump scares Tanya out of her routine. He does have a knack for creeping up on people, doesn't he? Now we begin to see the start of Charles attempting to seduce and eventually suck her?
Charles Brady.
Thanks for the help, Charles Brady.
Don't mention it.
It seems to be working, because she is immediately geeked out of her mind over this guy. He asks if he can get some popcorn and soda, and after a little flirting, we find out they actually have a class together. 4th period creative writing. He lies through his teeth, saying he came from Ohio, not California as we saw earlier in the film. But saying he came from Ohio must have really fucking turned her on, because holy fuck is she chewing on that lip. After getting some popcorn, she just does it again unprompted. He offers to give her a ride home, but declines, as her dad picks her up. She flirts back, asking how his girlfriend would feel taking the popcorn girl home. Biting her lip for the 5th time. As he responds saying he doesn't have a girlfriend, he is new, she bites down for a 6th time, a 7th one just as he's leaving for the movie.
Welcome to Travis.
Barely skimping out on the 8th bite. It really does come off like King and Garrus boiled down the basics of flirting and attraction to constantly chewing on your fucking lip. They really don't even need to do that. These two actors actually have some decent chemistry throughout the movie. It's just an odd choice here. Another jump scare for the characters as Tanya gets in the car, revealing Charles to be lurking around the side of the building. Charles makes his way back home, just for another pathetic attempt at a jump scare plays out. They seriously do this constantly. It starts off annoying, comes around to being entertaining by how much they fucking do it, only to wrap back around to being insufferable. In this scene, it's revealed that the cats are beginning to ignore the traps altogether, going right up to the windows and trying to get in. Mary fakes having a severe allergy to cats, which, to be fair, isn't faking, as cats are literally deadly to these people, to have this police officer come and take the cat off the property. Back inside, Charles and his mom begin flirting instantaneously.
Am I beautiful?
You're always beautiful, Mother.
She starts asking about the girl, Tanya, whether she's nice and pure, pleading for Charles to bring her home.
I'm famished, Charles.
And they just start making out again. There must be pheromones in the air because everyone is constantly in heat. The next day, Charles gives a speech to his class, literally just describing the story of him and his mother out in the open, just switching up the names to throw people off his trail.
They were sleepwalkers, hiding in human robes. In the end, Robbie and his mother always had to run. For one night, the men would come, in their old cars, men with lights and guns.
Flying a little close to the sun now, aren't we? Anyways, it seems like his teacher is starting to catch on to some irregularities in Charles' story.
Isn't that where you transferred from? Ohio?
Oh, yes, it is.
We then immediately follow up with literal slapstick sound effects. When the teacher asks the class what everyone thought of Charles' presentation about Sleepwalkers, Tanya immediately chimes in.
I liked it.
Jesus Christ, lady, how horny are you?
I thought it was very sad.
Sad? Why?
Because they were always driven away. Because they were such outsiders.
Uh-oh, seems like Charles might actually be falling in love. Mother won't be very happy now, would she? A little later on, we see Mr. Fallows becoming more suspicious of Charles. Or maybe he's just infatuated by his pretty boy smile. Tanya and her friends gossip about her meeting Charles, how he's so nice and dreamy, and whether he asked her out on a date, revealing some key information.
We just talked at the theater.
That's all you would have done anyway.
What a waste. Well, excuse me, but what would you have done? Everything.
Do you get that she's a virgin now? Do you get it? As they continue gossiping outside, the man himself approaches, asking if he can give Tanya a ride home.
I mean, all of you?
No, we've got a ride. But why don't you go, Tanya?
Okay, see you later.
As they walk to the car, Charles thanks Tanya for what she said back in class, that she hit the nail right on the head, with Tanya saying that she has felt that different before too. Oh my god, guys, they're gonna kiss! Oh, never mind. Charles takes her to his car, jumping over the door just to show how fucking cool and rebellious he is, which does impress Tanya. Now we cut to Tanya's house, and Charles just follows her into her room? Aren't you supposed to be a prude? Why are you even in here? We get some great comedy bits of Tanya throwing all of her underwear she has just lying around and... Okay, the lip biting. Is it a tick? What the fuck?
My favorite picture's over there. That one.
I like rocks.
You do?
What? Charles mentions that he would love to watch her take pictures. Then Tanya asks if he would like to come to Homeland with her tomorrow.
It's Homeland.
Oh, it's an old graveyard.
Tanya's mother barges in, breaking up their little intimate moment. They have a little conversation on the stairs that isn't really important, and as Charles takes off to leave, he jumps over the door just to show how fucking cool and rebellious he is, which does impress Tanya. Okay, a little weird of a start to the movie, yeah, but pretty conventional at the end of the day. But from here on out, this movie starts going off the fucking rails. It's amazing. As Charles drives home, he gets pulled over by his teacher, Mr. Fallows, who immediately starts grilling him, becoming quite aggressive.
Reminds you of Ohio, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you know.
No, actually, I don't, Charles. I don't know. And you don't either.
Mr. Fallows drops the bomb, saying that Paradise Falls, where he transferred from in Ohio, doesn't even exist, just like Travis, Indiana, and that all of his transcripts are fake. Charles keeps telling him this is all a misunderstanding, asking if it's blackmail, all to just getting his hand smashed on the door of his car.
Dibble, I'm through with you.
And then...
You're right, Mr. Fallows. People really should learn to keep their hands to themselves. Here's yours.
All right, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Let's fucking go. Oh no. Charles chases his teacher into the wilderness, who comically smacks into a tree like Sonny Bono, and feeds upon Mr. Fallows with this sick-ass camera shot. Oh, baby. Meanwhile, Mary is glaring out the window as a... here, let me... clouder of cats encroach on her property. Now we're introduced to Officer Simpson.
Get the bad guy, come on, Clovis.
And his police cat, Clovis. That's pretty fucking convenient for this film, isn't it? What are we? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
It smells like it's been dumped in a bucket of piss.
Hey. Do not refer to him as a junkyard cat. He has a name, Agent Jack Bauer. All right, let's get you back to CTU, Agent Bauer.
From here on out, I'll be referring to Clovis as Agent Jack Bauer. Anyways, Simpson and Agent Bauer happen to see Charles racing down the highway, leading us to an epic car chase. Charles swings around the road, sending them back to where they came from. This chase isn't so much intense as it is presented as entertaining, I guess. There's a totally badass rock and roll score. A little hijinks with a semi, multiple accounts of reckless driving and child endangerment, and, unfortunately, no vehicular manslaughter. Simpson catches up to him, yelling at Charles to pull over, who seems to be repping ACAB till he dies. Quite progressive. Agent Jack Bauer sticks his head out the window, the one and only weakness to Sleepwalkers, causing Charles to do... this.
What the fuck?
What the fuck is right? Simpson continues the chase, but Charles outguns him, pulling off to the side of the road. Here, we get another peek into the powers that Sleepwalkers possess. Apparently. I guess he can just turn things invisible. That's cool. Simpson happens to stop exactly where Charles hid the car, out of any place down this highway, for literally no reason other than to show that cats can see through Sleepwalkers' illusions. Agent Bauer stares him down as Charles loses his temper.
Stop looking at me. Stop looking at me, you fucking cat!
Hey, don't you talk to Jack Bauer like that, you prick! Simpson gives up, ignoring the obvious irritation from his feline partner. After dropping the invisibility, the car is red now, for some reason. Back at the station, Officer Simpson tells the other officers about the encounter with Charles, how his face wasn't clear, almost like a blur, and how Agent Bauer hated him, and he hated Agent Bauer, just for everyone to smile and nod, like, okay, man? That means literally nothing to these people. Simpson is now determined to find and track down Charles. As Charles comes back home, Mary sits in her silk and moody candlelight, frothing at the mouth, but realizes that Charles didn't get them any food, and...
What are you talking about? I'm starving, Charles. I need it. You have to get it for me.
And just starts smacking the shit out of him, transforming into that fucking prosthetic that we saw earlier. Jesus Christ, lady, someone called the domestic abuse hotline. Charles reveals that the officer had a cat, and that he dumped the teacher's body in the woods. Mary implies that there are other sleepwalkers out there to calm her son down, saying that they'll feed tomorrow and leave for another town. The nightly clouder of cats swarm their house, snapping one of their traps. It must have gotten them in the mood, as Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny starts playing again, and we see them literally fucking. Apparently, there's an alternate, more explicit cut of this scene that instantly gave the film an X rating. Hashtag release the Garrus cuts. Sorry, I mean, what? Anyways, as we pan over to the mirror, the Sleepwalker's true form is revealed. Just some disgusting alien-looking thing. Hot. The next day, Tawny packs for her little picnic date with Charles, doing her iconic lip bite again. It's at this point where you can really tell these people are in their 20s. Like, she doesn't look like she's in high school at all, and I think the film knows it too.
Remember, honey, I want you home by 5. Make sure Charles understands that, okay?
Yes, Mommy, and I'll be sure to pack extra dieties, too.
After Tanya leaves, her parents talk about how fucking dreamy Charles is, really shoving it down your gullet that he's terrific, just utterly charming.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's utterly charming.
I just said that. Mary stitches Charles's hand back together, seething with jealousy for his new date.
Why are you being such a bitch?
Because I'm hungry.
Have a Snickers bar or something, god damn.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
Mary goes on to tell Charles that he cannot fall in love with this girl, but Charles reaffirms his mother's feelings.
I love you, Mom.
Do you?
Just full-on leaning into the incest thing, eh? He goes one step further, as when Tanya shows up to their house early for the date, Mary invites her inside, and yet again feels like the intro to a porno. I know I keep making this joke, but it's just so fucking blatant here.
Charles said you were nice. He was right. He usually is.
Oh, well, thank you. Charles is very nice himself.
Then we get this crazy-ass reveal shot? Does Tanya not see this? Like at all? The mirror is right in front of her. There's no way she missed that. Or was that just for the audience? Ah, fuck it, who cares? There's a lot of odd shit that happens in this scene. Tanya notices the car is a different color and the clouder of cats outside. Mary plays around with garden shears in a menacing way, then sticks a rose in Tanya's ear, finally leading us to the date site.
This way.
Thank you, Mom.
You know, honestly, their chemistry together isn't all that bad. They do come across comfortable on screen for the most part.
Your mother's gonna want to know some rubbing went on out here.
Me too, Charles.
Tanya loses Charles for a moment as the camera spins around her, calling out to him with the music swelling to another fucking jump scare. God damn it. Then for literally no fucking reason, the car turns back again. Why? I get the point the first time, to get off the cop's trail, even though he just turned it invisible and got off his trail anyways. But why did it turn back? Speaking of that, here's Officer Simpson and Agent Jack Bauer again. How fucking convenient. Charles does his little grave printings, and Tanya does her little photography, snapping some pictures of Charles, who apparently forgot to brush his teeth that day, until they clumsily fall down the hill with this sick-ass camera shot. Landing on top of each other, then, of course, proceed to have a little makeout session in the cemetery. Honestly, good for them.
Do you really feel alone like the characters in your story? Because I do.
You don't know me, Tanya.
Anyways, Tanya starts laying it on pretty thick, and I think Charles might have caught feelings for her, but he's quite conflicted.
You don't know me, Tanya.
But I want to.
They start another makeout session, but Charles starts getting a little aggressive.
A little slower.
But I thought we understood each other, Tanya.
Oh, right. He's a bad guy. Got it. Then he just starts open mouth sucking the soul out of Tanya? What the fuck is that? Tanya gets up, with Charles now in full villain mode.
Is this the excitement you were talking about, Tanya?
She scrambles up the hill, scratches him in the face, and then he just bitch slaps her onto the ground. As they're wrestling on the ground, Charles reveals his goofy looking prosthetics.
Tanya doesn't have to hurt.
Are we about to have a rape scene right now? God damn it, King. Well, he metaphorically rapes her, sucking the soul out of her mouth, and then just punches her for no reason. Followed up with this terrible, terrible pun.
Why don't you just think of yourself as lunch?
Fucking finally, thank you. Tanya gets up, then starts walking back to him. Just fucking leave. What are you doing? Don't inspect his body. Do you not remember what he was doing literally 10 seconds ago?
Take it, baby!
God fucking damn it. He pushes her onto the ground, just for her to find another thing to hit him with, and then stabs him in the fucking eye. Let's go.
Just look at his shirt! My mother's gonna kill me!
She slashes him across the throat and finally runs away. And hey, it's Officer Simpson.
You piss me off.
And Agent Jack Bauer, my apologies. Simpson comes across Charles's car. Don't get me started again with how ridiculous that is. And Tanya frantically running out of the cemetery. She tells him how they need to get away immediately. Then Charles is trying to kill her, and how his face changes, continually insisting that they need to leave until, you guessed it, Charles pops back up and fucking kills him.
Cop kebab!
He drags her out of the car and, wait, you're not dead? What the fuck? Also, apparently Charles is immune to gunshots.
I don't believe you fired a warning shot, officer.
So now this fucked up looking creature is about to Tanya, but Agent Jack Bauer comes to the rescue. Charles wrestles with the cat, just getting absolutely bodied, as Tanya watches from the car in horror. She eventually tries to call in from the cop's radio, as Charles just gets in his car and books it, leaving Agent Bauer to mourn his partner's body. Aww. The clatter of cats grows larger as Charles makes it home, stumbling out of his car and his mom moaning in ecstasy. Realizing the situation, Mary lays her son down on the couch, tending to his wounds. Charles tells his mother that they need to leave, but Mary retorts that they can't, not until he's stronger. She tells him to try and dim, which is just turning invisible, but he can't in his wounded state.
I'll take care of you.
During the crime scene investigation, we get a cameo by the man himself. Toby Hooper, director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? What are you doing here? Oh, and Steven is here too, I guess. Tanya tells the sheriff what happened, trying to explain the car shenanigans from earlier, but the sheriff isn't buying it.
Listen to me. I know I sound crazy. You're not getting the point.
As one of the forensic team guys snap a few pictures of Tanya, she remembers that she took a few photos of Charles down in the cemetery, and if they develop the pictures, they'll have him in it. Even as she's weeping and getting into the backseat of a police car. Still gotta remind the audience on how fucking charming he was.
It was very charming.
Things still aren't looking good for Charles, who can't even get down a sip of water.
No. My boy is not going to die. Not ever!
I've got some bad news for you, ma'am. Just then, police sirens are heard coming down the street. Forgetting that she never moved the car, Mary dims the car away, just in time. Mary then dims the both of them, turning invisible as the police break down their doors and... Wait, is that Ron Perlman?
Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house.
Everyone is in this fucking movie.
A lot of cats. Well, I can see that, dickhead.
Well, apparently you couldn't see that, dickhead. The sheriff and Ron Perlman head upstairs, where Ron makes a very interesting comment.
Listen, that little girl needs a good smack on the butt. And if her mama and daddy won't do it, I'll happily volunteer.
Isn't she supposed to be in high school in the context of this film? What the fuck?
Stay away from her, Soames.
Yes, please do. Back at Tanya's house, we have this really fucking weird scene with Officer Rayburn.
This is the best meal I had since my wife passed on.
So at this point, this man has already had 2 ears of corn, with a 3rd on the way. Now pay attention, this is very important foreshadowing. Tanya takes a bath upstairs, with what seems to be an obvious reference to the iconic bathroom scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, lacking any subtlety at all. Anyways, Tanya's father knocks at the door, telling her that her food is ready and that he'll let her know when the police officer arrives with Agent Jack Bauer later, blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, 2 officers camp out in front of Mary and Charles's house, witnessing some weird shit. They immediately get out of the car to investigate, and the way they handled this is completely unrealistic.
Identify yourself. Police officers. Maybe it was the wind.
Besides this horrible line, in reality, they would have lit the house up and killed a random black kid by now for no reason.
It was not the fucking wind.
Suddenly, Mary appears behind them, smacking their heads together like cymbals.
You're right, that was not the fucking wind.
Mary shows up at Tanya's house, immediately smacking the father in the face with a vase of roses, sending him crashing through side tables. Mary goes on a rampage, smacking people to the ground and sending them through windows. Tanya rushes down, hearing the commotion, as Officer Dumbfuck misses every single shot from like 20 feet away. Aren't you a trained officer of the law? Don't they, train you to shoot a gun? Tanya sees her father wiped out on the floor, somehow missing Mary standing in the corner of the same fucking room, who starts having a cat fight.
Please clap.
Back in the police station, Charles's pictures turn out as expected, warped and fucked up looking as Tanya isn't a very good photographer.
So was the camera moving, or?
No, see, the background and the clothes are in focus.
Oh, right. I forgot he shapeshifts, or whatever. A call at the station shows Officer Dumbfuck alerting the other officers of the situation. And hey, remember how I said the ears of corn are very important? I guess you could say he's a cop on the cob now. Get it? A joke so obvious, Nostalgia Critic beat me to it.
And come on, after using the cop kebab line, you couldn't go with the incredibly obvious corn on the cob. I see t-shirts of this man, t-shirts!
Just worse.
No vegetables, no dessert.
Officer Dumbfuck lies dead on the ground as his colleagues call to him over the phone, until we cut to the clouder of cats marching along the streets of Travis, Indiana. So you just know this shit is about to go down in an epic climax of incest pussy. Just look at all of them, they're so cute. A few more police cars arrive as Mary just casually drags Tanya by the hair. Ron Perlman shouts at Mary, telling her to put the girl down, who just grabs his hand and bites his fucking fingers off. As he reaches for his gun, she just straight up snaps his fucking arm. Holy shit, lady. I mean, she does look like she's been working out. There must be another power that Sleepwalkers possess that we haven't explored yet called incendiary rounds, because she does exactly that. Mary drives the two back to her house to see Charles, which is now just infested with cats. Too afraid to get out of the car, Mary opts to just slam through the walls, creating their own entrance. I'm pretty sure the cats can still get through that, lady. Oh, wait, they actually do. Oh. Never mind. Mary drags Tanya to Charles's body, then starts masturbating or something until that damn radio starts playing, you guessed it, Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny.
That's his favorite song. Did you know that? I said, did you know that?
There is an unbelievable amount of slapping and punching in this movie for no reason. It's hilarious.
Said, did you know that?
Mary somehow resuscitates Charles to force Tanya to dance with him now? Why not just feed on Tanya right now and get all your strength back? That's what you needed her for anyways, right? Just suck her and leave. Anyways, they start dancing with each other, give me off vibes of that one dinner scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which makes a whole lot of sense considering Tobe Hooper is literally in this movie. The sheriff arrives at the house and finds...
Clovis?
You mean Agent Jack Bauer? He's back! Agent Bauer climbs up a tree and somehow breaks through this window to get inside, even though he probably could have used that gaping hole in the house instead, but whatever. Back with Tanya and Charles, his true form bleeds through. And just as he actually does start sucking Tanya, Mary has her little transformation as well.
Suck her dry!
I told you I'm not being weird with my verbiage. He is quite literally sucking her. Tanya breaks out and jams her thumb into his other eye, with Mary pouncing on top of her until our boy Agent Bauer pounces on top of her. Let's fucking go. There's a bit of a struggle all around, until the massive clouder of cats run in through the front door, just absolutely jumping her ass. Mary eventually fights off the cats, except this one just hanging around. That gets absolutely demolished with a shotgun. Seems another power Sleepwalkers have is buckshot immunity. Mary herself transforms, causing the sheriff to ditch his gun and run away with Tanya outside. As they make their way to the car, Mary of course catches up with them, flings the sheriff into the yard, and... Tanya locks herself in the cop car, but to no avail, as Mary just breaks through the glass and fucks up her arm anyways. The sheriff tries distracting Mary with a cat trap, and Tanya fidgets with the keys to no avail. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, why aren't all the cats jumping Mary here? Isn't there like 60 cats in your front yard whose mortal enemy is Sleepwalkers? Agent Jack Bauer must have heard me bitching and decided to take matters into his own claws. The others follow their leader, mauling Mary like a clouder of cats would. This somehow lights her ablaze, cooking on the concrete until...
You killed my son! My only son!
That looked... great. Tanya calms down after defeating the evil. Heart rate lowering, adrenaline wearing off. Wouldn't this be a great time for one last... jump scare, fuck you! At least Agent Jack Bauer made it out alive.
It's just you and me.
Agent Jack Bauer.
Just you and me.
As we crossfade to the clatter of cats running around the burning corpse, the movie just ends. So that was Sleepwalkers. Pretty fun movie overall. Doesn't really try to take itself too seriously, even if some of the puns are terrible. I'm sure in the future I'll be covering more collaborations between King and Garrus, so look out for that. Anyways, just like the movie, this is the time the review just ends. Hashtag release the Garrus cuts. Sorry, I mean, what?